Walk into any supermarket. Aisles stretching 50 feet in every direction. 30 types of cereal. 40 brands of yogurt. Fresh strawberries in January. Mangoes from Peru. Salmon from Norway. The shelves are full. Always full. You swipe a card, load your bags, and leave. It looks like abundance. It's not. It's the most sophisticated illusion ever created. Here's what you're not seeing. Those shelves are restocked every single night by a supply chain so complex and so fragile that it operates on a system called just-in-time delivery. Supermarkets hold 3 days of inventory. 3 days. If trucks stop rolling for 72 hours, those shelves are empty. Completely. And the trucks are always one crisis away from stopping. A fuel shortage. A labor strike. A port backup. A cyber attack on logistics software. In 2021, a single container ship got stuck in the Suez Canal and global trade froze for a week. Grocery stores across Europe started rationing. It's not because there wasn't food in the world, it's because the food couldn't move. But let's talk about what's actually on those shelves. 70% of it is processed. Seed oils, high fructose corn syrup, preservatives you can't pronounce. Food engineered in labs, not grown in fields. It's cheap. It's addictive. And it's slowly killing you. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disorders. These aren't genetic inevitabilities. They're the downstream effects of eating corporate food for 40 years. And the cost? It's skyrocketing. Groceries are up 30% in 3 years. Eggs doubled. Beef is unaffordable for most families. You're paying more for worse food that's shipped thousands of miles and designed to keep you hungry. You think you're free? Because you have choices. 30 types of cereal. But they're all made by the same 4 companies. You're not choosing. You're consuming what the Matrix allows you to consume. And the second the supply chain breaks, you starve. Not eventually. Within a week. Let's go to Rome, year 410 AD, the Eternal City. The heart of an empire that once controlled the entire Mediterranean. Population of 1 million people, the largest city in the Western world. And Rome was starving. Here's what happened. For centuries, Rome had imported grain. Massive shipments from Egypt, North Africa, Sicily. The annona, the grain dole, fed hundreds of thousands of citizens who didn't farm. They didn't need to. The empire handled it. Grain came by sea, up the Tiber into warehouses, and out to the people. The system worked flawlessly for generations. But the system was fragile, entirely dependent on stable trade routes, functioning ports, and political control of distant provinces. When those things broke down, Rome broke down. By the 5th century, the Western Empire was collapsing. Barbarian invasions, political instability, pirates disrupting shipping lanes. North Africa, the breadbasket of Rome, fell to the Vandals in 439 AD. The grain stopped coming. And Rome, a city of 1 million people who had outsourced their survival to a supply chain, had no backup plan. People starved, not the elite. They had estates. They had land. They had rusticated villas in the countryside with olive groves, vineyards, livestock, and grain stores. When the city collapsed, the aristocrats retreated to their self-sufficient rural estates and survived comfortably, while urban Romans died in the streets. The people who survived the fall of Rome weren't the ones with the most money or the highest status in the city. They were the ones who owned productive land outside the system. The ones who could grow food, store food, and didn't depend on ships from Egypt that might not come. Fast forward to today, you live in a city or a suburb, you buy food from a supermarket. That food is shipped from industrial farms hundreds or thousands of miles away. It's packaged in facilities you've never seen, owned by corporations you don't know, transported by a logistics network you don't control. You are a Roman citizen in 400 AD, and the ships might stop coming any time. COVID gave you a preview. Empty shelves, rationing, panic buying. And that was just a disruption, not a collapse. Imagine a real crisis, a grid failure, a fuel embargo, a financial crash that freezes payment systems. The supermarket runs out in 72 hours, and it doesn't restock because the trucks aren't coming. What do? You can't forage in a city, you can't hunt in a suburb, you don't have 6 months of food stored, and even if you did, what happens after that? You're dependent, completely, on a system that history has proven again and again will fail when you need it most. And the people who make it through those failures are never the ones who trusted the system. They're the ones who opted out. So what does the system tell you to do if you're worried about food security? Buy organic, shop at farmers markets. Great. You're paying double for food that's still shipped to you, still dependent on fuel and logistics. Farmers markets disappear the moment fuel prices spike or supply chains break. Organic doesn't mean resilient. Stock up. Buy a year's worth of canned goods. Preppers love this one. Fill your basement with rice, beans, and freeze-dried meals. And then what? You eat through it in a year? Maybe 2 if you ration hard. And when it runs out, you're back to dependency. Stockpiling isn't security, it's just delaying the problem. Start a garden. Grow tomatoes. Sure, your backyard garden produces maybe 50 pounds of tomatoes in a good year. That's a supplemental salad bar, not a food system. You're still buying 95% of your calories from the supermarket. If you live in an apartment or a suburban lot with no space, you can't even do that. The system's solutions aren't designed to make you independent. They're designed to make you feel better while keeping you dependent. You buy organic, you feel virtuous. You stockpile, you feel prepared. You grow tomatoes, you feel self-sufficient. But none of it changes the underlying reality. You still need the supermarket. You still need the trucks. You still need the grid. And when those things fail, your organic kale and your backyard tomatoes aren't going to save you. Real food security isn't about optimizing your grocery shopping. It's about owning the means of food production. And that requires land. Actual land. Enough to grow serious calories. Enough to produce year-round. Enough to stop depending on a supply chain designed to fail. The math doesn't work in expensive countries. But it works perfectly in Southern Europe if you're willing to think differently. Southern Spain, Andalusia, or rural Greece, or inland Portugal. Places where land is cheap, the climate is perfect for growing food. And nobody's turned agriculture into a subscription service yet. Here's the framework. You're not building a doomsday bunker. You're building a modern rustic villa. A productive estate that feeds you indefinitely, cuts your living costs to nearly zero, and makes you immune to food inflation forever. Step 1. Buy land. 1 hectare. It's about 2.5 acres. In rural Andalusia, inland Greece, or northern Portugal, that costs €8,000 to €15,000. Add a small stone house, something that needs renovation but has good bones. And you're at €25,000 to €40,000 total. Cash purchase, no mortgage. You own it. Step 2. Plant a food forest. This isn't a garden. It's a permanent food production system modeled on natural ecosystems. You plant it once, and it produces for decades. Fruit trees. Fig trees produce in 3 years and keep producing for 50. Olive trees take 7 years to mature, but produce for centuries. Walnut trees give you protein and fat. Citrus trees in Mediterranean climates produce year-round. Chestnut trees were the primary carbohydrate source in rural Europe for 1,000 years. Perennial vegetables. Asparagus produces for 20 years. Artichokes grow like weeds in Mediterranean climates. Rhubarb, sorrel, perennial kale. Plant them once, harvest forever. Nut bushes, hazelnuts, almonds. These are calorie-dense, store for years, and require almost zero maintenance once established. You're building a system that produces thousands of pounds of food per year with minimal labor. No tilling, no replanting. No fertilizer dependency. It's just pruning, harvesting, and letting the system do what it's designed to do. Let's run the numbers. 1 mature fig tree produces 50 to 100 pounds of fruit per year. Plant 10 fig trees. That's 500 to 1,000 pounds of figs. Dried figs are 1,200 calories per pound. You just planted 600,000 to 1,200,000 calories. That's 1 to 2 person-years of carbohydrate needs from 10 trees. Add olive trees for fat, walnuts for protein, citrus for vitamins, perennial vegetables for greens, a small chicken coop for eggs. You're not just supplementing your diet, you're covering 60% to 80% of your caloric needs from land you own. Your food costs drop from €300 to €400 per month to maybe €84 things you can't grow: coffee, salt, specialty items. That's it. Now add remote work. You don't need a high income anymore. Your cost structure is so low that 20 hours a week of freelance work covers everything. Rent is 0 because you own the house. Food costs are 80 euros. Utilities are minimal. Internet is 25 euros. You're living on 400 euros to 500 euros per month while producing most of your own food. This isn't subsistence. This is abundance. You're eating fresh figs in August, olives in November, citrus in January, asparagus in April. Your food is better, healthier, and costs almost nothing. And you're completely insulated from supply chain collapse, food inflation, and corporate consolidation. When the supermarket shelves empty during the next crisis, you're picking olives from your own trees. When food prices double, you don't notice because you're not buying food. When shipping routes fail, your food forest keeps producing. You've become what the Roman aristocrats were, the ones who survived because they owned productive land while the city starved. Except you did it without being an aristocrat. You did it with 40,000 euros and a willingness to plant trees. This is the new rustic villa. It's available right now to anyone who understands that land, not money, is the real wealth. Here's the reality. The global food system is more fragile today than it's ever been. Concentrated ownership. Just-in-time logistics. Complex supply chains that span continents. One shock, one major disruption, and it breaks. And you're going to be hungry. Not because there's no food in the world, because the food can't reach you. And when it does reach you, you won't be able to afford it. Or you could plant 10 fig trees this year. And in 3 years, you're harvesting 1,000 pounds of fruit annually, forever, for free. The window is open right now. Southern Europe still has cheap land. Climate still supports year-round growing. The infrastructure for remote work exists. You can buy a hectare, plant a food forest, and secure your food supply for the next 50 years for less than the cost of 1 year's rent in most cities. This isn't about preparing for collapse. It's about opting out of a system designed to extract from you. Every month you spend 300 euros on groceries. Is 300 euros going to corporations that are poisoning you and making you dependent? Every fig tree you plant is a permanent exit from that system. The Roman aristocrats didn't survive the fall because they were smart or lucky. They survived because they owned land that produced food. That's it. It's the whole secret. You can do the same thing. Right now. For less money than a used car? Start researching. Get land prices in Andalusia, rural Greece, inland Portugal. Learn about food, forests, and permaculture. Join expat forums and talk to people who've already done this. Then run the math. How much are you spending on groceries every year? How much is that over 20 years? Could you buy land and plant trees instead? Your grandchildren won't ask why you left the city. They'll ask why you trusted the supermarket. If this changes how you see food security, subscribe. I'm documenting the path out. Stop feeding the matrix. Feed yourself.